Hey guys, today I want to talk a little bit about a problem that I feel the RTS genre in general and StarCraft 2 in particular has these days. I've been thinking about this a lot, especially when I was at WCG in 2012 and 2013, and I feel that the significance is really very important these days. People have been discussing a lot why MOBAs are just so much more popular than an RTS game like StarCraft 2. And by no means am I a supporter of people that say like StarCraft 2 is a dead game. I still think that we have really good viewer numbers and we have a really good community. But you have to just say like that the MOBA community in itself is just much bigger and is currently just a bigger draw than StarCraft 2. And there are a couple of reasons for that, and they have been discussed like a lot already. We had people discussing, of course, that there are different pricing models for games like StarCraft 2 and for the free-to-play MOBAs like League of Legends and Dota 2. And there are, of course, a whole lot of different aspects to it as well beyond that. But there's one thing that very few people really talk about, and in my opinion, it's one of the most important aspects. If you look at a MOBA and you look at, not even a MOBA, just look at a MOBA or like look at a WarCraft 3, look at any game that is focused on heroes in the game itself, then you have something as a casual viewer who doesn't really have a lot of knowledge about the game, but might just have played a few other games in the same genre in the past. You have something that you can just focus your attention on. You have those hero elements. In WarCraft, a game really hinged on the hero. If the hero combination for an undead player was successful and got onto a high level, you had really good chances of winning the game. And especially in the late game, it was not as much about the units any longer. It was more about the heroes and how well they were really equipped, what kind of level they had, and which items they had. In a MOBA, it's very similar. Like, you have these elements in the game itself where you have just key components that are so important and so vital to the game that any viewer, no matter how experienced he is with the game itself, can really focus his attention on and can be excited about what happens to them. If you see a big team fight going down in a MOBA and you have like basic knowledge about it, it's really exciting to watch that. And you see two heroes die, you see another hero jumping in and get a double kill, get a triple kill. That's absolutely amazing. And the same was also true for WarCraft 3. If you get a hero out with like 5 HP and you get that town portal or that healing potion in the last second, suddenly the hero turns around, gets his nukes off, throws a coil in, a Nova, whatever it was, and gets a kill himself. And it was something that people could get excited about. And as a caster, it was very easy to just like highlight these points and really have a bit of a lead up and then make the audience like transfer that excitement that you had and that passion towards the audience. That was really easy. With StarCraft, it's very difficult because in StarCraft you have to have a way more analytical style that doesn't only reflect in the casting itself, but it's also something that the audience has to have. StarCraft is an amazing game, but to really enjoy it, you have to know the game. You really have to know what's going on. Take your run-of-the-mill Protoss versus Terran, for example. If you go into the late game, it's very much about Vikings versus Colossi, it's about High Templars versus Ghosts, the Snipes and EMPs versus the Storms, and these are just like key battles. But try to explain that to someone who doesn't really know a whole lot about StarCraft 2, who hasn't played that game too much, who you really want to excite for the genre and for the game itself. For a person that doesn't really know what's going on, to be able to identify High Templars in the first place out of the crowd of sea of zealots, it's so difficult and it's something that's nearly impossible. For a viewer that has this knowledge, it's of course amazing to just see a really good Storm, for example, go down. See a High Templar come in from the side and a flank. And that's something you can get excited about. But it's not really that highlight moment that you have in a different genre, or if you just compare it to WarCraft 3, where you get that hero kill, where the crowd goes wild. So it's really difficult to convey that, not only as a caster, but also if you're in the crowd to really judge, alright, how important was that right now? Did that really change the game? Did it change the entire battle? Like, was that a good storm? Did it kill enough, or was it really not worth it? And it's just like so much more analytical and much more strategical, which doesn't make it a bad game by no means, but it makes it much harder to follow for a casual viewer. If you so want, then you can compare it a little bit to micro and macro. It's very easy to get excited and to like really get enthusiastic about good micro that you see unfold in front of you. That's true for MOBAs, that's true for WarCraft 3, and that's also true for StarCraft, but to a very limited extent. StarCraft is a whole lot more about macro. And if you think about how amazing the macro is that some players have, like we can name so many of them, Innovation, Jaedong, it doesn't really matter. You really see them dropping in 2 places at once, you have them attacking in the middle as well, at the same time they macro their base back at home, and do all these different things on different points on the map, and it's simply amazing to see that. But it's very, very difficult to really understand what's going on if you don't play the game yourself. If you see great micro on the screen, it's really, really easy to appreciate that. Macro, on the other hand, is much more difficult to show. Think a little bit about how many skill videos have you seen in StarCraft 2 and compare that to the amount of skill videos that you have seen in WarCraft 3, in League of Legends or in Dota 2. And there you have your answer right there. It's so much more difficult to really showcase the skill of a player in a match like StarCraft 2 to a very casual audience, because there are very few focus points that you can really highlight. And in StarCraft 2, there are so many things that a player has to do when he has to like macro everything, and then in the fight, of course, itself. But if you compare it to something where it's really easy to understand, if this unit dies, this is a key element, this is a hero, if this guy dies, it's bad, then you can really highlight that on a whole different level. And I feel this is something that StarCraft 2 is really lacking these days a little bit when we are talking about trying to excite an audience. And one of the biggest problems that we will have in the future, I feel, is that the RTS genre has to change. I don't think that a game like StarCraft 3, for example, can be successful, just because I think that Blizzard is probably a little bit reluctant to introduce a hero element to StarCraft 3. I think that would be something that we would see with WarCraft 4, which I personally think that WarCraft 4 for the esports scene and for the RTS genre within the esports scene would be just much more important. So, just a little bit food for thought right there, and I know that there are a lot of arguments against it, there are a lot of arguments like for what I just said, and I just want you to think a little bit about it. It's something where I feel a StarCraft fan and someone who has been in the community a long time definitely can appreciate what's going on in a game when he watches it. But to really draw more new viewers in and to grow the RTS genre, being it WarCraft, being it StarCraft, doesn't really matter what kind of game it is. It's just so much more difficult if you don't have those key elements within the game, those highlights that you cannot only highlight as a caster, but that you can really be excited about as a viewer. It's also, in my opinion, one of the reasons why when you have a tournament like MLG that ran StarCraft 2 and also a MOBA game like League of Legends or Dota, you could always hear those difference in sound levels between the crowd in the MOBA section and the crowd in the RTS section. Because if you think about it, what are the moments that you're really excited about when a game happens? Think about yourself when you watch the last match that you saw. I personally get excited about the macro. I see a player do several things at once and I'm like blown away. I'm like, oh my god, he's so good, he can control all these things at once. And of course there are occasionally really highlight moments as well with a micro when a player makes a really good move. But if you compare that to the sheer amount of hero kills that you have in a MOBA and how easy it is for the audience to really cheer for that, to really be excited about that, it really pales in comparison. So that's just my take, or like one of the things that I feel is missing in the discussion a little bit when we are comparing different genres these days and when we are talking about why StarCraft seems to struggle a little bit. And it's something that I want you guys to think about a bit. So I would be really happy if you guys could just drop me a couple of comments in the video and just let me know what you guys think about it. If you agree, if you think that there's a little bit more to it, if you have a few other suggestions, what could be one of the reasons that StarCraft isn't doing as well as we want to. Or if you have a completely different opponent and disagree with me and why exactly that is, always make sure that you also subscribe to the video itself, to the channel itself, and that you like the video. And I also hope that the video is actually going to be uploaded, because this was a pretty big stress test for my new microphone, and I hope that the background noise is not so loud that I have to actually kill the video and delete it. So guys, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm going to see you soon. Bye bye.